one day about, hey, how can you, blah, 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 and so forth. And he started this, I'm sorry, I'm holding things up. I was telling a real long story, sorry. I'll catch up with you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you everyone for coming today. And I want to first thank a few people before we get started with the program. So first, George Washington University for providing this facility, for hosting this event, in particular Dr. Liesl Riddle, Assistant Professor of International Business and International Affairs, and Professor Pradeep Rao, Chairman of Department of Marketing. They were both instrumental in getting the access and the space allocated in a timely fashion. And then I would like to thank our sponsor, which is Miles and Stockbridge, and Mr. Eric King is here, and I'd like to invite him to speak, maybe a few sentences about the firm.
Yeah, sure.
Views about the services his firm offers.
A couple minutes, sir. Our firm's happy to sponsor the food and drinks at the event. And, I've been a member of Beta Gamma Sigma since 1996, and it's always been interesting to me, the entrepreneurial side of things. And it was actually ended up working at a startup for a while. And after I graduated from MBA school in the University of Colorado, one of my professors introduced me to a startup opportunity, and I begged, borrowed, and stealed and bugged them until they made a position for me. And it was one of the most interesting things I've ever done. And I would encourage you all to continue in that vein if you are. But that was back in the wireless telephone air interface wars, if anyone can remember that.
The CLEC versus ILEC.
Exactly, exactly.
I wrote my paper in MBA school.
There you go. Small world, but we had great technology, but our marketing efforts fell a little bit short to a small company named Qualcomm. You may have heard of it. So our company went out of business, but at the end of the day, we had great engineers and we had some really great patents. And I said, well, that's something I want to do. So I ended up back here and went to George Washington Law School, and I'm a patent attorney now with Miles and Stockbridge. But the firm is a full-service firm. We cover all kinds of legal issues. As you continue down the road with whatever endeavors you are, you're going to run into legal stuff. When it happens, feel free to give me a call. Happy to give you a, Beta Gamma Sigma discount.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Don. He's a founding partner of VC Labs and the CEO of T3 Tiger Tech. VC Labs is an innovation accelerator turning vision into value 5 times faster than the industry standard. VC Labs funded the Water Seer cooperative project with UC Berkeley, Sutarja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, and is partnered with the National Peace Corps Association for deployment in emerging regions worldwide. VC Labs and NPCA have an agreement to support innovation and entrepreneurial activities led by returning Peace Corps volunteers. T3 Tiger Tech, an analytics and performance consulting firm, has grown 6-fold in the last 3 years with clients in the Executive Office of the President, Department of Defense, Commerce, and Veteran Affairs. T3 Tiger Tech is a certified ISO 9001-2008 business and has a record-setting 98% done in Bradstreet Open Rating assessment for customer satisfaction. Don has led 3 successful startups and held executive leadership positions in commercial, nonprofit, and government organizations. While on military service, he led special operations team in classified environments and was personally commended by the Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff for leading a joint crisis management program coordinating 7 federal government agencies. He was selected for the Outstanding American by Choice Award by DHS and DoD and was selected for the Premier 100 IT Leaders in US award by Computer World magazine. Don was recently selected to join the National Peace Corps Association Shriver Circle. Don has a BSc in engineering from West Point, a master's in mathematics and computer science from Hofstra University, and an MBA from George Washington University, and he is a Beta Gamma Sigma member.
Yay. I saved the best for last. Okay.
He is a graduate of the Stanford University CIO Executive Program and Aristide Institute at the Wharton School of Business. Please welcome Don for crowdfunding for early stage business development.
Thanks very much. I was really excited, truthfully, when Manoj contacted me. This is the only time Beta Gamma Sigma has contacted me except to get money. Okay? So maybe I finally arrived. That's a great and that's a great introduction. It's like the kind of thing that your father likes to hear, but only your mother would believe. All right? Some of the most interesting things are not in the resume, because you don't put failures in resumes or embarrassing things in resumes. And I do have to tell a story about my wife. I've been married 43 years. I don't know how she's done it, but anyway, we were having our 40th anniversary, and we were at a bed and breakfast. French themed bed and breakfast out in Maryland, and we came down to breakfast like you do, and there was a couple there that had just been married like the day before. This was like the first day of their marriage, and we were celebrating our 40th anniversary. And the young lady was just so excited, okay, to talk to us about how did you do this, and how did you overcome that, and how much work was it, and blah, 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 blah. And I was getting ready to say something really profound, and weighty, and really help them guide their lives. And Marion said, "Well, the first 39 years were the really hard ones," which meant I didn't have to say anything else. Anyway, here's how I started learning about crowdfunding. We were doing a project in Viki Labs for the Small Business Administration, and they were very, very interested in how crowdfunding could be used, particularly for women and for minority businesses. And the first time you look at crowdfunding, it looks like it's going to overcome it's going to build these on-ramps for capital, and you're going to be able to, people that can't get money are going to be able to get money, and so on and so forth, and they wanted us to study it. And we were working with Dr. Richard Swart. Dr. Swart, he's a brilliant guy. He's like a PhD, but you never know it, and he was from UC Berkeley. That's one of the reasons we'll be connected for UC Berkeley. And the deeper and deeper we got into it, the less and less comfortable the Small Business Administration became, because the conclusions that we were coming to were the same old standard conclusions. That there wasn't like a magic wand. You wouldn't be able to reach out and touch it and change it in some way. That to be successful in business as a startup was all those same basic fundamentals. After we had our second report, Richard and I came out of the meeting, and he said, we should take this on the road and do it ourselves. We don't need the government to do this for us, because we're going to get pushed into this corner, and it's not going to be valuable, and I don't want to waste my time. So I said, yeah, let's do that. So the next day we called SBA and said, keep your money. We're going to go do this study on our own. And that study subsequently got briefed to the Rockefeller Foundation. It got briefed to eight other organizations, including a number of minority advocacy organizations. We were able to talk to Steve Case about it. We were talked down here downtown about exactly that. So you're not going to have to go through all that kind of crap, okay? What I boiled this down into about 8 or 9 slides, and we're going to talk about it. And there's two things I want you to take away. The one thing is that the fundamentals always count. You have to write this down. You're not going to forget it. You're not going to forget it. The fundamentals always count, okay? They will always, always count. When I was playing rugby, my coach said that, yard by yard, anything's hard, inch by inch, everything's a cinch. And believe me, is that ever true? And that's a fundamental. So the fundamentals always count. And the second thing is that every situation is different. And what that means is there isn't a golden path. There isn't a single line that you can follow. There isn't an example. There isn't somebody that's out there that has done everything absolutely right. Because everybody who's ever been in business, in particular if in the startup business, you make all kinds of things wrong. What you try to do is try to do wrong things differently, right? Or do something else wrong and not make the same wrong thing wrong again. Now the summary here, this was a year-long study. We did, 400 or 500 interviews from entrepreneurs and minority leaders and chambers of commerce and all kinds of stuff. Is what we call time to climb was more important than money. Now anybody that starts in a business, the first thing they tell you is, well, you gotta have access to capital. Total crap. You don't need access to capital. What you need is access to time. And what happens is when you give capital to a small business, you just stretch out the amount of time that they have. They're much better off not getting money and failing fast early, right? Because you're going to fail a number of times. And you can pump money into a really lousy business idea by somebody that's very passionate and working really hard, and all you do is stretch out their time to failure. You're actually delaying their success. Time to climb, and I'll define what I mean by that a little bit later, is a lot more important than money. It really is. And the second thing is that your community beats everything. Your community beats everything. If you can be successful in your community, you can be successful just about any other place. Because the fundamentals about being successful in a community are the stuff that you learned in kindergarten. All right? Don't be afraid to share. You don't always have to be first. Right? The biggest guy is not always the smartest guy. The prettiest girl is not always the best date. Okay? You learn these things in kindergarten, and if you can do them in your community, you can do them every place. Because business is a community. And it doesn't matter how many spreadsheets you look at. Give me the next one, thank you. One of the challenges with crowdfunding is that it's so new that it's changing all the time, right? There aren't any really best practices. Probably a real good example of that is I'm a member of the Crowdfunding Professional Association, and everybody was really excited when they were going to allow equity crowdfunding about a year and a half ago, and there was going to be this big boom, and nothing happened. Nothing happened because the rules that were developed by the SEC, and I know this from Richard because he told me, the rules that were developed by the SEC, this is my personal opinion, not his, were developed for a set of circumstances that no longer existed. That crowdfunding had gone way beyond that, and now they were actually in the way. And as a result, equity crowdfunding is really having a hard time getting this started. You can't really compare crowdfunding data, so it's impenetrable. And by that, if you look to access to capital, you've got all kinds of information about the person who applies for that loan. Crowdfunding, you don't. You've got no idea except what's on the other side of that video. And a lot of people fake their videos, okay? So you really can't penetrate it. So you can't say, for example, well, there was a conclusion that was come to by an MIT study that women were doing a lot better on crowdfunding. So we asked, well, we dug into this stuff. Richard's a real good academic. How do you know that there are women? Well, they said, well, it's because of the kind of projects that they do. They're artsy, craftsy projects and they're social impact projects. Well, they're building in a bias, okay? I did a social impact crowdfund, okay, and and appearances of the contrary, I'm definitely not a girl, okay? So the thing is that when you study crowdfunding data, the biases are built in. So it's very, very hard to understand. Now, there are some conclusions about crowdfunding data and about women entrepreneurs, and I can tell you about that too. That last bullet, all these words are golden, okay? They're going to be graved in stone. The data is not collected and it's not available. What that means is it makes it it's very, very difficult to analyze. All right, next one. Thank you very much for this. It's extremely agile. It's phenomenally competitive. I think it's, last time I looked, 6 or 7% of crowdfunding initiatives actually made their goal, right? And they either miss their goal by a mile or they blow it out of the water. They exceed it by an enormous amount. It isn't like a graduated scale. And it's because of this hyperfluidity. You can't really break it into normal community segments like Asian American entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs or something like that. It's very, very hard to break that down. And this was actually kind of it was a kind of common sense conclusion after we looked at it. The traditional investors that control capital, banks, VCs, angel investors, family foundations, they use crowdfunding to qualify their own investments. So if they get somebody that wants to get money for an idea, a new app or something like that, they'll look at that and say, well, why should we waste our money and take the chance to see whether this person's going to be successful? They'll go back to them and say, well, it's pretty good. Here's our feedback. Go out and get $100,000 in crowdfunding. It's a real fast, cheap way for them to qualify the idea and see if the person is good enough. So who's the big benefit of crowdfunding? Not the little entrepreneur. It's the same people that control capital right now. And actually, it's a good way to follow it to see if you're looking at a crowdfunding investment, is to see whether they've been to a VC before, because that's a good chance that that's what's going on. Next one. Financial stress it is the biggest worry. But like I was saying, financial stress is a stand-in for time. You can trade, money's fungible. You can trade it for just about anything. But you can't get more time. You only got 24 hours. You can get another $100,000, or $5,000 or $250,000, but you can't get another day. And if it takes you 25 days to get to the point where you can start to market it, and the market's moved on, it's too late, and no amount of money will help. It actually makes it worse. So the financial stress is a stand-in, in my view, for time stress. The other thing is there are all these enormous institutions devoted to managing money and managing capital. And it's in their interest for entrepreneurs to borrow a lot of money because they make money by lending it to people like entrepreneurs. So it's in their self-interest to say you need more capital. You do need more capital, but you should decide when you need more capital. And you should decide that when you need more capital when you can't do without it. And when you're starting out, you can do without capital. Women entrepreneurs are definitely more engaged and more successful. They don't complain, and they don't quit. And they're really good at community. And all the Wozniaks and the Jobs and stuff like that, the Elon Musk and so on and so forth at the top of the pyramid, most of those guys wash out because women understand community much, much better. It's a slower ramp, but they fail us. There's a significant challenge in disadvantaged business communities, African American communities and Hispanic communities. A friend of mine is past president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. There's a significant disadvantage, and the challenge is that when somebody starts at something, and it doesn't matter whether they're doing building an app or putting up a lawnmower company or something like that, they go to the people that have got money. People that are around them, mom, their dad, sister, brother, friends, guys they bowl with, or the ladies that they run with, or something like that. they then have this, first they're told that they need a lot of money, so they're worried about that. The second thing is now they owe all their friends, so their reputation on the line. All those things are really motivating. But the problem is, and the challenge is, that they fail frequently because they're just starting out. Well, they can't go back. Partly because they feel that they failed. Failures, and you shouldn't be ashamed of failure. Everybody fails a lot. In fact, I think you ought to fail fast and frequently. But the people that you went back to didn't have a lot of money to start with, and you've taken it out. So you can't, so they only get one shot. So if you're in a community, a disadvantaged, or a community that doesn't have a lot of money, and the pastor gives you $500, and your mom gives you $200, and you've got $300 in savings, and you want to go open up, get a chair and rent a barbershop place, and you don't make money, you can't go back again because they haven't got it, and you don't want to ask. So it becomes a very significant problem. This is not so in richer communities or in better communities, because you can go back and they can give you another chance, all right? Or you can go back and you can try something different. But in very, very cash-limited communities, it's not that they don't want to build businesses, it's not that they're bad entrepreneurs, it's that they only get one chance. Anybody here ever rode a bicycle? Anybody ever fall off a bicycle?
No.
What if you fell off a bicycle, you lost your legs, okay? I mean, a lot of people wouldn't try riding a bike if that was the circumstance. Entrepreneurs don't know what crowdfunding is, they really don't. Hold your hand up if you know what crowdfunding is. Nobody's gonna raise their hand. Crowdfunding is friend and family financing on steroids. Okay, you go out and make 10,000 new friends. That's what crowdfunding is. That's all that it is. Little teeny tiny investors who watch your video, think it's kind of a cool idea or it's kind of an interesting thing, and they put down their $25 or their $50. All right, that's what it is. It's friend and family investing with the internet on steroids, so you can get bigger, more friends and more family. There's a difference between reward and donation and equity in crowdfunding, but it's not significant for the point. To a certain extent, the lack of knowledge of crowdfunding is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's the reason it's a challenge is you can educate everybody on crowdfunding and it might not help them that much. Okay, it might not help them that much because actually it makes them see crowdfunding as a burden. It's more like the lottery. If you hit it really, really big. So I think that's a better way to think about it. And most entrepreneurs lack the connections for the crowdfunding process. Yes, sir.
Do you want to hold the questions or?
Oh, no, I don't. Please go
So
ahead.
how big was your sample size when you came up with, when you did the study? How did you pick the sample and how big was it?
We had about 10,000 candidates.
Okay.
We had them do a little survey,
Okay.
see what was interested, selected which ones were good, which ones are not. Then we did some statistically sampling to make sure we had at least 30 or 40 in each group and subgroup. We divided it, because many people are in multiple categories, right? And we wanted to make sure that we had enough representatives in each category. And then we did phone interviews, right? 4 people, myself, Nancy Curtis, who's a co-author, she's also an entrepreneur, and Richard, and a note taker, and then the person who was talking. We had like 12 sets of standard questions we asked every group, and then 3 questions we asked for that particular group because it was something that the SBA was interested in, and that way we could compare the answers. And then I'm a math guy. We then did a lot of statistical matching and hashing and stuff like that to try to come up with a conclusion.
And you were originally trying to do this for the SBA or with the SBA?
The SBA was paying us to do it, and we decided to go off and do it on our own.
I see.
What made a good candidate for your sample?
Well, they had to have time. They had to have time, and they had to be willing to talk, even if it was off the record. We wanted people that genuine is kind of the wrong word. We didn't want advocates unless they were not advocating for themselves, right? We wanted somebody who was either advocating for that particular group, or if they themselves were a thought leader or an entrepreneur, or somebody who set up a crowdfunding hub or something like that. We wanted people that actually were in the game, in the arena, so to speak, as opposed to watching it. Right?
Guess so they had some skin in the game.
We didn't have any PhD interviews, okay? Because they're all going to be PhDs. I got nothing against PhDs. Because they had an academic approach. We wanted somebody that had some practical experience. You know, a few scars on their back, you know, something like that. That's a good question. Thank you. The lack of connection is a real big deal, and I'll show you how to get over that lack of connection. When we did our crowdfunding raise, for Water Seer, we had set a stretch goal of $75,000, and we made almost $400,000 in like 6 weeks. We were totally stunned, gobsmacked by the response. None of the people that we had lined up ahead of time to contributed. Not my sister, who loves me and I love her, not Nancy's niece. None of those people put in money. It was all strangers. The reason they did it is because we had an awesome video, we had an awesome PR campaign. All right. This is some of the focus group feedback, and it's one representative. This is a minority business advocate, right? You see this time thing again, right? It's not that they lack financial information, it's they lack the time to figure it out. This is an alternative financing subject matter expert. This is somebody that actually had set up, Alon Hillel Took, he set up a crowdfunding site called Rocket Hub. Really, really interesting. Sold it for like $50 million or something like that. A great guy, really smart guy too. It's very hard to initiate banking relationships. So as a result, crowdfunding has high appeal to minorities. And I accept the observation, because it is difficult to set up a banking relationship. But I don't think that crowdfunding is a substitute for a good banking relationship, right? Next one, please. This is this thing about affinity groups. There used to be this myth that if you want to do crowdfunding, you had to bring your crowd. Not true. You have to find your crowd. We saw this common several times. Not everyone who can start a business can run a business. They're really very different skills. There are people that run great toothpick businesses, and they do phenomenal toothpicks, and they make money and they employ people, but they couldn't find the elevator if they didn't have an instructions for it. Right? They're just not at all creative. They never ran a business on their own, but they can know how to turn the crank really well. They're two different kinds of people. And the thing is, if you look at an entrepreneur, the damn the torpedoes entrepreneur at the very early stage is not the guy you want when you're getting ready to get a $5 million investment because you want to expand internationally. They're different kinds of people and they have different skills. We saw this a lot. We didn't see it in practice, but it became a belief, it became a meme, right, about it opening the doors. It really hasn't happened so far, even though, like I said, the data is kind of hard to figure out. There's a lot of skepticism about alternative financing in general because they have been burned. Right? Well, entrepreneurs that have been burned are actually more likely to be successful, but also deepens their skepticism, which kind of aids their success. It is important to be educated, but I don't think they should need to be educated. In my view, they should not be educated on the memes or the myths. They ought to be educated by somebody who has done a crowdfunding raise or raised a small startup. All right? Yes.
Did you find any correlation between the amount of the small investor funding, be it $25 or $100, and what they expected back?
That's a fascinating question. It's more associated with the amount. There's a disposable amount of cash that people have, like 25 to 100 bucks. And it didn't matter if they got nothing for that. Like we did our crowdfunding raise, we did a poster you could download and print yourself, okay? Like, you know, it cost us like nothing. There were also people we saw doing crowdfunding raise that gave out T-shirts and concert tickets and stuff like that. It didn't make any difference. It was, were you in this disposable cash range? That's what made a difference. The size and the quality of the perk did not make that much difference at that particular point. The big deals were you going to get attention and could you get visibility?
And then
That's a
what-
great question.
Did you find a size at which that, just a range of a size where you said, this is when people start expecting?
That's actually one of the lessons learned I got to later is when you pick your platform, and I think there's close to 800, there were 500 when we were doing this, close to 800 now. When you pick your platform, that's probably your key decision because different platforms have different audiences and have different success rates and have different rules. And it's not just how much they charge you, you know, the 3% or the 4% or whatever it is. It's, does the audience that goes to that platform, is that the audience you want to reach that will appeal to? But the right number is about $100 to $150. 80 or 90% of the donations are going to be right in there.
Wow.
All right. When you try to raise $400,000, $100 a time, it's a bit of a surprise. It's a lot of people to take care of. Entrepreneurs don't know what crowdfunding is. They know the memes, but believe me, it's not a magic wand. It's friends and family writ large. Tremendous amounts of confusion. It's not that being confused isn't bad. Being paralyzed is bad. So if you're using confusion as an excuse not to move, then you've fallen into the trap because you're never going to get perfect knowledge. And, okay, you're confused. When you go out and try it, you'll be less confused. There's a significant cultural barrier outside of the community. We found, like with African American entrepreneurs, and women entrepreneurs, Hispanic entrepreneurs, they wanted to go to their community. Women were great at banks. They have all their stuff lined up. They got all their spreadsheets. They got their business plan. They're well prepared. They look nice when they go in. They probably research the banker on LinkedIn and stuff like that. They really do a great job. They go inside their community. They try to find a woman banker, and they try to find maybe a bank that specializes in that kind of entrepreneurship. African American entrepreneurs will go to the regional bank. They won't go outside that regional bank. I mean, there's a low trust factor anyway when you go into a bank. Hispanic entrepreneurs, the same thing. They try to find a bank where the person is Spanish or the bank is Spanish in some way. Community trumps everything. Community trumps everything. And the bring your crowd thing is a myth, as I described. This alignment between the entrepreneur and the business model is pretty significant, more significant than I think people realize. The people that have the best ideas don't have one good idea and then go out into their garage and make billions and zillions of dollars. They get like one good idea every 20 minutes, all right? Getting one good idea every 20 minutes is not a great way to turn a startup into a business, okay? There's a lot of other things that you've got to be able to do besides getting good ideas. Your good idea cutoff point happens as soon as you're committed. You don't need any more good ideas then. You might need to be agile, but you don't need a brand new idea on how to develop your business and the different kinds of people. The people that are phenomenal entrepreneurs and phenomenal operators and managers and phenomenally agile are like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and those people, because they are unique people that can be both creative, great at detail, understand how to focus, and understand how to break the focus. It's not just luck, it's an extraordinary collection of talents. Most people, like including me and everybody in this room, it tends to be good at one thing or another, so you have to figure out what you're good at. Very small amounts of capital in the urban business communities, and when it's used up, it's gone. It's hard to get more. And women tend to be a lot more engaged and successful. If you know what your affinity circle is and you have to figure that out, it has really significant impact. We broke through on our crowdfunding raise through a media tool called Meltwater, which would allow us to pick which media tools, online and paper, that we thought would be really good for us. And we hit 2 or 3, and 10 million, 40 million, we got I think we stopped counting, but around 100 million. We got over 100 million online hits on the video that we did. And it was because of Meltwater, and allowed us to pick the media outlet, none of which we were aware of before we used it, that gave us that visibility, that got those $100, $150 contributions I was just telling you about. And the VC deal flow follows the crowdfunding success more and more. The VCs that are more successful look for crowdfunding successes. They tell them to go out and raise money, and if you do, great. You know, we can help you. If you don't, well, glad we didn't waste time. They'll think of another good idea. Or they go to, as is happening in our case, they find somebody that really was successful, and then they say, well, that improves our chances to make a bet. Right, so success kind of leads to success. Another one of those fundamentals. Yes, sir.
Did you find that also to be true for angel investors? Because at that point, to seek an angel investor with a proven interest would be much easier than actually go to a VC and hand over your stuff to them.
Ask me that question again.
You know, if you've proven some kind of a success model, right? There's interest, at least determine some interest. At that point, wouldn't it be easier to go actually seek angel investment versus venture?
Well, in my opinion, this is all my opinion. Okay, so don't take this to the temple or something. But in my opinion, there's not a real big difference between angel investors and venture capitalists.
Okay.
Angel investors tend to be, lone warriors, right? They want a bunch of people around them telling them what's a good investment or what's not. All right. So for that reason, they've got a deserved reputation for being a little more flexible. But they're both interested in making money with their investment.
Oh, sure.
The basic game on venture capital is you bet on 10 and you hope the one that makes it covers up the losses on the first 9.
Absolutely.
Angels have got it's a great marketing name, but really what they are is they're more like independent contractors. All right, and they've got their own money in some way, or they're advocating for something. The advantage of angel investors is they're more willing to accept risk. VCs in general, they're not really interested in risk. They're trying to spread their risk as much as possible. The reason I say that is there was really not a big difference. Is there was one factor that correlated higher than any other thing. This is not from this study. This is from something I learned from Richard, who really is a world expert on this stuff. The single greatest factor in getting funded or not was not the industry. It wasn't the amount of money asked for. It wasn't the education of the person. The single greatest factor was did they come from the same school that the VC came from? That was the biggest factor. You could have a world-beating idea and you come from Slippery Rock University, nothing against Slippery Rock University. No one's going to fund you unless you find a VC from Slippery Rock. But you come from Stanford, crap, all you need is 8 PowerPoint slides and you'll get 4 million. That's the single biggest factor. Well, how do you beat that game? Whoever pitches for you better come from the college that the VC is from, because you will significantly increase your chance for funding. This is pretty important. If you're waiting for capital to start your business, forget it. Don't even start. Start right now, because it's okay to fail. In fact, fail fast, fail early, right? And then learn, and then start again and again. That's the fastest, best way to do this. It's never going to be a perfect time for business. The perfect moment to start your business just left the room with somebody else, okay? And it's not going to come back. So start right now. Fail cheap, right? Fail cheap, especially if you're working with somebody else's money. But go out there and do it, and maybe you won't fail. Maybe you'll be very successful. Rapid validation of ideas and branding, that's actually some of its biggest benefit. The success of the entrepreneur is separate from the startup success. Okay, there are some people that are great entrepreneurs that are not going to have great startups, and vice versa. And the minority crowdfunding in particular is not going, in my opinion, it's still very early, it's not gonna develop on the Indiegogos or the Kickstarters or the GoFundMes. They're gonna start on small community crowdfunding organizations. We're actually promoting one with Rockefeller Foundation, a small community crowdfunding where the community chips in their $100 to $150 so we can get up to $200,000 or $300,000 and then fund somebody maybe twice after they've learned the lesson. Try to overcome this kind of thing. It's not exactly microfinancing because it's a lot more money, but it's community-based because when you're in the community, there's a greater level of trust. Plus, you got a better chance of knowing whether that person is a deadbeat or whether they're gonna actually come through or not. Next one. Time to climb is more important than capital. It's more important for you to get where you need to go in a shorter period of time than it is to get there too late. And if you misuse your capital, all you do is you extend your runway. You want a short runway. You want a quick takeoff. And you have to understand the community you're trying to raise money in, and the community that you're trying to reach with your market. All right? And the next time an attorney tells you that you need to give me $5,000 to set up your business, tell them to go pound sand, because you don't. Okay? You need that $5,000 for something else. How not to be a big fat crowdfunding failure? I think there's a lot of luck. Truthfully, we kind of hit the market with our product more than we should have. But don't wait until you've got the perfect crowdfunding campaign. It doesn't take very much money to go out and start a crowdfunding campaign. Go out and try it. You'll learn a lot, okay? Study the rules that they tell you. They actually give you real good advice. After you failed at your first one, you'll be a lot better at your second one. Get the right platform, follow their guidelines. This will tell you whether it's the right platform for you. And if it's not, forget it. There's a lot of other platforms. When you're ready to actually make money, be prepared to have an awesome video. It makes a huge difference. It'll go viral. It'll convince people. They really do need and want this thing, yeah.
So, earlier you said that a lot of people fake their videos. Do you recommend that?
No. Well, maybe if you're just playing around,
But yeah.
but if you're actually trying to raise money, you need to be serious about it. Fundamentals always count. Fundamentals always count. It's good to ask your friends and family, but they're not going to give you your best advice. The best advice is that man or that woman with a credit card or with a check is going to tell you, yeah, what you're giving me is worth $100. That's the best advice you're going to get. Don't depend on your friends and family. Make your high frequency, I forget who asked the question. Your high frequency perk should be the very smallest cost. You want the lowest possible barrier for those people. Okay, a very low barrier. 3 $50 perks is better than $100 perk, okay? I know you guys are all great at arithmetic, but believe me, if you can lower the barrier to the point where it's very easy for them to make that purchase, it'll start piling up. You know, $3,100 perks, pretty big pile of shekels. Yeah.
So, 2 questions. One, the study, is it available to be seen, or is...
I've got to check with my co-authors.
Okay.
We published it privately. We made it available to the Rockefeller Foundation and have briefed it. I'm sure there's not going to be a problem, but I would like to check with... Richard's an academic, okay, so it's really important to him. I don't think Nancy cares that much.
Okay.
But let me check with them and make sure, and if it is, I'll give Manoj a copy and you can get it from him.
Okay, great. And the other question, crowdfunding is typically for consumer products most of the time, right? But are you seeing more going towards the enterprise side, or no?
Not too much.
Okay.
There was this hope that in equity crowdfunding there would be more of that, but it's pretty hard. So far, there hasn't been that much success. All right. Our particular one was a product, which was a little unusual. Most crowdfunding successes tend to be products, but they're pretty unusual. I think the most successful one that I remember on Indiegogo, I mean, it sounds like this dirt simple thing, but it worked great. And it was like a tap you put on a beehive. Right? So instead of opening up the beehive, right, you know, with your mask and everything, you just open up the tap And it was set up so it had this kind of reverse pressure, and you'd get the honey out. You didn't even have to be there. You open up the tap and go to the next one. I mean, they raised a ton of money, all right? So it isn't necessarily the, the newest, greatest app or dating site or something like that. It tends to be pretty simple stuff, easy to make, and that has some kind of immediate value. One of the other ones is very, very successful was a cooler, right?
Yeah, the cooler one is pretty good.
But basically, all on the consumer end, right? Not really enterprise.
You don't see it in,
Yeah.
you don't see it in business. Businesses are risk averse. They're gonna wait till somebody's been successful and then they're gonna come in. Or like I said, they see whether, like in our case, we had great success in crowdfunding and then did a bunch of other development, and now we got businesses interested, right? So that's kind of the way that works. The fundamentals always count. Work inside your community, and your time to climb is more important than money. And I guess the other one is, for God's sakes, go out there and try it. You can coach swimming. You can watch videos about swimming. Your best friend can be an Olympic swimmer. You can practice until your arms are noodles, but you'll learn more about swimming in the first second you're all wet. You really do, even if you didn't do all that other stuff. So go out and try it. The great thing about crowdfunding is that the obstacle to actually get out there and try to start a business is so low now. It's practically nothing. Go out and try it, and don't care if you fail. I can't remember the name of this guy, but he was the guy that invented Under Armour. The T-shirts. He wasn't a really good football player, but his mom was a real good seamstress, and he developed this material so you didn't have to change your shirt 4 times at practice. Well, I listened to him. He was at the Potomac Officers Foundation thing. They had these regular deals. And one guy in the audience, not me, asked what I thought was a really smart question, which is, well, what mistakes did you make? What would you do differently? I was thinking, oh, wow, smart guy. The guy gave the best answer I ever heard. He said, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because if I hadn't have made that mistake and there were things I did I regretted, I might not be where I am. And I love where I am. So the bottom line is, you just don't make mistakes, you just get experience, and you build and learn on that experience. So there you go. Anyway, open to questions, and thank you for your questions. They're excellent questions. Did I fill the 40 minutes? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, thank you,
Thank
John,
you.
There's still a lot of food and drinks here, so I think we should all get up and just, mingle a little bit and introduce yourself. Maybe you want to go around the table once before we get up, so everybody knows everybody, otherwise they will
Sure.
be hesitant or
Sure, just ask.
should I say hello or not? So let's start here.
Or should I give you a card?
Michael Boone, I'm a engineer by day,
I believe in Carol
entrepreneur
Pans.
outside,
Okay.
8 to 5, nice to be here.
If you get 2 copies, what's it gonna hurt? Electrons are
Hi,
real
my
cheap.
name is Carrie. I'm just a recent Johns Hopkins finance graduate, so I'm just here.
I'm Amy Oman. I actually also have a JD, and then I went and got my MBA afterwards, and I was working on a social enterprise, but it didn't go so well, so I'm trying to figure out life.
I apologize for anything I said about lawyers.
No.
All right.
I am Arslan Khan. I am the founder and CEO of RequiredSteps.com, and we are trying to disrupt or in a way democratize the consulting field. Consulting is really expensive. Deloitte's, KPMG, all those folks, and the people who really need a consulting, yes, the big boys need a consulting, but there's also the small businesses. They can't afford it. So we're trying to see how we can actually provide them the tools so they have self-service consulting services that they can do themselves. So that's where we're trying to go.
Awesome. My name is Francis Wisset, founder and CEO of LegitX. I am actually trying to disrupt international remittance. Everyone's trying to do that right now. but we think we have a different way to make it more of a community kind of thing, which it really is. And move money, but do it in a way that not only eases the pain for families that are moving money over, but also targets and solve some of the problems that people are sending money to solve, which aren't really being solved.
Okay, I'm Jeremy Rorodi. I'm the founder and CEO of Seri Technologies, and what we do is we make assistive technology for industrial, military, and space application. The product we're working on right now is called the SAM-L, and it's a piece of wearable technology. It's 20 different environmental sensors, works with augmented reality. It's eventually going to have augmented reality tutorials for soldiers, all kinds of stuff. Currently I'm in talks with Army Research Lab trying to get some funding, but I really want to go the crowdfunding way because intellectual property does not fare well in the military. So.
You know what an SBIR is?
Yeah, oh yeah, I meant to, yeah.
My name's Connor Newman. I'm currently attending Towson University. It's my final semester, and I do the numbers for Jeremy.
Eric Kang, lawyer with an MBA and patent attorney, partner with Miles and Stockbridge, who sponsored the food and drink for the event. You're welcome very much, and thank you. Cheers.
I'm Kate Adcock. I'm an attorney and an MBA, and I have a master's in tax too. Basically a tax attorney. I work for Bloomberg Bureau of National Affairs doing tax analysis.
Ed Kim, I'm sort of a serial entrepreneur, just here to learn.
I'm Thomas James. I'm currently the exhibition manager at the Maryland Federation of Art, and so I am working my way into beginning or starting my own arts management business. I'm going to be working more with putting on more exhibitions, more artist development, and creating more opportunities for artists in different regions.
Wonderful. My name is Raman Dadu. I work with this fine lady over here, and we are a government contractor, a small 8A company. If you don't know what that means, ask me later, and I'll be happy to give you a 5-minute brief on it. That's probably it.
Yes, so I'm the founder of FedPoint Systems. We are a small women-owned business, started in 2011, very, very small, and this fine gentleman here joined me with, I'm not from the technical field, so we joined hands, and I think we're doing good now. But it's more of services to the federal government.
My name is Alan Hinman, and I'm with the International Peace Building Organization, the Global Peace Foundation. However, we have projects that we launch in communities all over the world, including in the United States, and we look at opportunities, or we look for opportunities to get funding for those special projects, and crowdfunding seemed like it was going to be an interesting idea. I just found out that only unless we got a product, we pretty much won't be successful. However, my wife is launching a new LLC, so I'll pass on the information.
Hi, I'm Andre Matache. I'm originally from Canada. I've been here 3 years. I have a degree in finance, and now I'm working in data analytics.
Where in Canada?
Montreal.
Alberta.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Edmonton.
Oh, Canuck. How you doing, eh?
Where's the beer? Then where's the hockey?
My name is Shaya. I work for CertiPath, which is a identity management company. Manoj is my boss. So I'm a software engineer by day, not much out of 8 to 5. I have limited experience background in business, so very excited to be here, learn, build up my network, and eat good food. So after this talk, maybe soon I'll think about starting to crowdfund my business, in the future, maybe a Chinese restaurant or something.
Something in the community, perfect.
Yeah, I'll give all you guys discounts.
Hi, I'm Suraksha, and I work in Sortipath as software developer. And Manoj is my boss too. So I'm here to learn about crowdfunding and startup business and all that. So I have no plans yet, but maybe in future.
All right, let's go back. Introduce Professor Pradeep Rao.
Well, my name is Pradeep Rao, professor sometimes. I teach here in the business school in marketing, and I just came from teaching my new product development class. So I'm somewhat interested in crowdfunding, but it's not my central interest.
I'm Kevin Roberts. I have an MBA as well. I'm in banking. It's always good to see the different funding sources available, so it's very interesting. Thank you.
Hi, sorry I'm late. My name is Stuart. I'm a recent graduate with an MBA and Masters in Data Science from Instituto Empresa in Madrid. Whilst there, we started an online wine delivery company, helping you find, buy, and receive wine in an hour. And we're just trying to launch it over here in DC.
An hour.
An hour.
Very interesting. All right, so now the floor is open. Please help us have more food and drink and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.